Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about how the zodiac signs handle breakups, and yes, it does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Well, anyway, people, I want to start out with Aries. Now, with Aries, Aries could be very acrimonious and very angry, of course, being ruled by Mars. So Aries may not handle a breakup very well. They could be abrupt themselves, but if somebody tells them that they are cut off from the relationship or what have you, and it happens very abruptly, which a lot of these breakups do, they could really they may explode or become very angry. However, they do have a forgive and forget philosophy. It's not a sign that is vindictive or vengeful. So Aries would get over it and they would move on fairly quickly, I think, but not until they have maybe a fit or they just become very angry and let the other person really know about it. Aries is very outspoken, of course, and will make no bones about it to let that person know his or her feelings about the situation. Now, go to Taurus. Now, with Taurus, well, Taurus is a sign, of course. They may take a while to deal with something like this because keep in mind, Taurus can be rather easygoing, have an even temperament. They're very stable people, and however, once they're provoked or something really gets to them, they could take a long time to forgive and forget. And I think it goes without saying this could apply to a relationship breakup. Now, Taurus is really very loyal and steadfast, and they invest a lot into a relationship. And if somebody decides to break up with him or her, it could really hurt them very strongly. They may not let out the tears as much as, say, a Cancer or a Pisces, but Earth signs, their feelings don't come out as frequently as often as the water signs, I believe, but they could be more enduring and more protracted. And Taurus could really take something like this to heart, I believe, because of their strong loyalty and devotion, and it could really bother them. They might not react in that angry manner that an Aries would react, but they would not take something like that very lightly. Now, a Gemini, well, if somebody breaks up with a Gemini, well, Gemini could be very lighthearted, and this could go, in a relationship situation, they're not known to be very emotional, and don't get me wrong, Gemini, like all the other zodiac signs, can become despondent over something like this, but I think with Gemini, what happens with them, they're a very talkative and loquacious sign, and I think with them, they could react by gossiping, by venting this out verbally with a lot of people and talking about this constantly until they actually get over the situation. In some cases, they might make a lot of angry phone calls, letters to that person that broke up with him or her, and the thing about it is it's something that with words is how Gemini would respond. I think of all the signs, this would be more about just a lot of strong communication and constant talking about what had happened. But Gemini, not being really the most emotional zodiac sign, they know they have enough intelligence to know that they can move on and not to dwell and ruminate and really lament over something for too long. So now, as far as Cancer goes, in contrast to Gemini, well, Cancer could be very emotional and very sensitive, of course. And this is a sign that may not deal with a breakup very lightly. And I had a friend, a Sun and Cancer friend, who had a breakup where he had someone leave him, where he was very distraught for a long time and very upset emotionally. And to this day, I don't know if he has really completely gotten over it. it just out of all 12 zodiac signs, Cancer might be the one that takes something like this the hardest, I'd say, along with Pisces, because those two zodiac signs, I think, are the two most emotional and the two most sensitive of the sign. I think Cancer could have a lot of crying spells along with Pisces. But I think Pisces, it's more, the emotions can be a little more chaotic with Pisces, and in Cancer, it's just a lot of strong emotions that are continual, and that are because they are very sensitive. Now, as far as Leo goes, well, Leo, as far as a breakup situation, well, Leo is of course known for their pride and their ego, and this is something that could really damage that ego, Leo, and their pride. They think, well, Leos can be devastated by a breakup because what it is it could be a blow to their ego, is how they see. They could say, well, how did this woman or how did this man actually maybe find somebody that was stronger, that was some better looking or had more to offer than me? There's no way that's humanly possible. Or if they just left just for another reason, regardless of the reason, how could this person actually leave me? It's not that they necessarily think they're perfect or infallible, but Leos often, they're very confident, self-assured, can have a very high opinion of themselves, and a lot of times they just really don't really understand, well, what could I have done wrong for this to happen? Keep in mind, the zodiac sign Pisces often falls on the 8th house cusp for Leo, and the 8th house cusp is about intimate relationships. So Leo could be very confounded and confused about something like this. So anyway, well, as far as Virgo goes, well, Virgo is the most analytical of the zodiac signs, and if something happens with them and somebody breaks up with him or her, well, Virgo might analyze the situation to death and think about, well, did I do this wrong? Was there something that happened on this day that led to that event that caused this to happen? When the reality is, a lot of times for Virgo, it's just that the other person really just didn't want to be around, or maybe couldn't handle the pressure of the situation. May not have been anything connected with what Virgo did. But Virgo, really, it can be very fault-finding and critical, and if something happens in a breakup situation, if somebody breaks up with Virgo, then they could become very critical of that person as well, and really talk about that person in a very derogatory and negative manner, because Virgo is not only the masters of analysis, they are also the masters of criticism, and they could find the flaws of that person as well, and really they will become very critical of that person and maybe badmouth that person and say a lot of negative things about that person to other people as far as that breakup goes. So that's how Virgo, I think, a lot of times can handle a breakup situation. Now, as far as Libra goes, well, Libra is the sign of the balance and the scales. They are very fair-minded and equitable. So, and as far as my experience, now I haven't honestly had that many significant others in my life or romantic situations, but based even as friends, I mean, what I've noticed with Libras, I had blocked one Libra Ascendant person and then another Libra Sun person one time. And it seems like what happens with them is they have the very fair-minded philosophy and attitude about this. It's kind of like, well, if you're going to block me, say, in a social media site, for example, and you break up, it's kind of like your way of breaking up. I'm saying this as a friend, though, in this example. I'm just going to forget about you, and that's going to be it. Now, and I think this can apply a lot to breakup situations, even if the situation is more significant than just, say, a platonic friendship. If you have, now, a Libra, doesn't like anything connected with injustice, and will speak his or her mind, I think, if something happens as far as a breakup goes. But what they do is they take their fair amount of time and they say, okay, well, this person did such and such to me. They may either simply walk away from the situation, just forget about the person, since he or she is going to forget about him or her, or they may talk it out to a certain degree, but they're not going to lament and ruminate on the situation for that long, because they know that's their sign of fairness, and they want to be fair to themselves, and they're not going to allow that person often to dominate their thoughts. So I think now, as far as Scorpio goes, well, Scorpio, of all the signs, I think has the hardest time in taking some kind of rejection connected with a breakup. I mean, they will take this very personally and very much to heart. Keep in mind, I mean, Scorpio, I think, is unequivocally the most vengeful and vindictive of the zodiac signs. So you got to factor that into the equation. You don't want to make a Scorpio scorn. So if you're going to break up with a Scorpio, you got to do it in the nicest way you possibly can, I would advise you. And Scorpios can often be very obsessive and have a very fixated type nature. So if you break up with a Scorpio, don't expect that Scorpio to just give up and say, "Oh, that's fine. You can break up with me, no problem," because that Scorpio might still try to contact you relentlessly even after the breakup is over. But keep in mind, Scorpio is also very resilient, and they can bounce back from this, but they will take their time in doing so, because they have a hard time, I think, perhaps of all the signs, in really accepting a breakup. Now, Sagittarius. Well, Sagittarius, I think, is really about the most expansive and upbeat of the zodiac signs. They look at it like, well, there's always somebody else. If somebody breaks up with me, I know I'm good enough to find another person. They don't stay disconsolate or depressed over situations for that long. And keep in mind, Sagittarius is like the adventurer and the meander of the zodiac. In a way, in some cases, they might not really be that mad at all, because it gives Sagittarius that chance and that opportunity to continue to adventure, to meander. Now, it's one thing if it's really serious and Sagittarius has kids and there's a custody situation, but I'm just talking about as far as a relationship and there's no children, there's no real indelible connection. Then I think Sagittarius would not react as strong as most of the other zodiac signs. So now, Capricorn. Well, Capricorn, even though they can come across as undemonstrative, keep in mind that Capricorn can take things rather seriously. They are very serious people, and they will not take a breakup lightly at all. Capricorn is a sign associated with longevity, and they like things to be long and enduring. And especially, like, if Capricorn embarks on a relationship with somebody, it can often be with someone that they had known a long time prior to actually escalating it to a significant other situation. So this is often a person that they knew for a while, and that's why they could be really hurt by something like this. And you see, Capricorn, when they do come back eventually and maybe look for somebody else, it's often somebody that's mature, responsible, and even often an older person. And that's why it can come surprising to them, because they'll figure, well, I chose somebody that was very responsible, very mature, even in some cases the older person, and why didn't this work out? And now, because of their criteria that they may be looking for in the next relationship, it could take them a while to find somebody else. So anyway, as far as Aquarius, this is of all the signs, this is kind of the hardest one to decipher in terms of how Aquarius will respond to a breakup, because Aquarius, I mean, they could be very unpredictable. I think they are about the most unpredictable of the zodiac signs. Now, I'm not saying they're going to hijack your computer or anything if you break up with them. Well, I wouldn't put it past them, because they are, I mean, this sign is associated with computers and electronics. But anyway, I'm really being mainly facetious with that. But the thing about Aquarius is you just don't really know how they're going to react. The good thing with Aquarius, okay, being given the fact it's an air sign, they're very cerebral, they're very objective people, And they really, and keep in mind, Virgo often falls on the 8th house cusp of intimate relationships with Aquarius. So they may take their time and analyze things a little bit, to do some analysis over the situation, rationalize it. But Aquarius can move on, I think, quicker than the average sign, even though it is a fixed sign, which could be connected with holding on to things. But Aquarius is a sign which really is about live and let live. And it's, I think with them, they could say, well, this person, if he or she didn't think I was worth the trouble, you know what, I can find somebody else. It's not that devastating to me. I will understand this and I will move forward. Keep in mind, Aquarius is very futuristic and progressive. They're about moving forward. So this is a sign that I think can move forward very readily as far as the aftermath of a breakup. Now, last but not least, Pisces. Well, Pisces, I mean, I think they could deal, they really can have a hard time dealing with the breakup because Pisces is a water sign and their emotions can be all encompassing and really all embracing. They will, they could often really take something like this strongly to heart, along with the zodiac sign Cancer. And Pisces too, their emotions, I think, can be chaotic as well. And they really, for them, they will often, I think, retreat and go into like their own little isolation, their own kind of their own place of seclusion and solitude for a while, and they will think about this for a rather long period. They will take it really strongly to heart. And the thing with Pisces too is keep in mind that Pisces can sometimes succumb to delusions. When I say this, what I mean is that they may idealize that significant other and think, well, there was no wrong. That person couldn't do such and such. How could this person break up with me? They really delude themselves, and not only Pisces could be about deception, it could be about self-deception, and they might, in a lot of cases, deceive themselves into thinking there's no way that this person would ever break up with me or leave me. And I think that's why, another reason why, not just the fact that Pisces is a water sign, but because Pisces will put these people on pedestals, and when they don't measure up to the height of that pedestal, they are left very emotionally devastated in many cases. But at the same time, Pisces, being idealistic on the positive side, will come back at a certain point in time and perhaps look for somebody else, but they will take a while to, as far as dealing with the breakup, because they are very sensitive, of course, and can be very emotional. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment on how the zodiac signs cope with breakups. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be continuing my zodiac signs and their personalities series. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.